and welcome to another BookTube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. And today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in the second half of September. Feel like I'm really shouting. Might be because I'm excited. I read, heavy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books in the second half of September. A pretty good reading month, September. Well done, me. I will start with the first audiobook that I listened to, although I do have the book of it, and that's because I don't remember why, but I got it out from the library as well. I listened to the audiobook of Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. I've heard people say this, but I've also said Sepetius? I don't know. This is a YA book narrated by 4 young people talking about the worst disaster in maritime history. It follows their sort of journey towards this the Wilhelm Gustloff, which is a ship that they will be getting on to sort of escape the war, and then the horrific I guess, for want of a better word, accident that happens whilst they are on the Wilhelm Gustloff. I really enjoyed this. It was really sort of hardcore for a YA book, and my sister read this, and I said to her that I felt like it was quite it tackled some pretty grown-up themes and mentioned some pretty gory and just obviously things that were happening during the war. Like, you can't shy away from that, but in a YA book I was a bit like, oh, I'm surprised that this is being mentioned, and oh, I'm surprised that that is being described in such graphic detail. I enjoyed it. I did not know anything about the Wilhelm Gustloff. I can't believe that I didn't know anything about it, and I feel like it was a really good presentation of young people during the war as well, and their sort of perspectives and the things that they would be concerned about, as well as the fact that there's a war going on around them, and they're fighting for survival, really. So yeah, really enjoyed the audiobook. It was done in 4 different narrators did a voice per chapter. Some of the chapters it really didn't take me long to read at all, because some of the chapters are literally like 1 page. But yeah, very much enjoyed this. I would definitely urge people to read it just for education's sake, really. But I would definitely err on the side of this being sort of YA. I'd say we're looking more at the A rather than the YA, just because, yeah, maybe I'm just more of a wimp. I don't think I am. Yeah, there were some definite adult things tackled in there, but very much enjoyed that. I think I gave it 3 stars. The next book that I read, I gave 5 stars. I absolutely adored. I read it for my book club, and that is The Trouble with Goats and Sheep by Joanna Cannon. I love this book, and as I was reading it, I was thinking, if this book was a day of the week, it would be Sunday. It's just a complete Sunday book of sort of lazy Sundays during the summer. It's set in the massively hot summer of 1976, follows 2 young girls, Grace and Tilly. One of the ladies that lives on their street has gone missing, and they are keen to find her, and for sort of like after a sort of misunderstanding of something that they've been talking to other older people about, they decide they want to find Jesus as well. I really love this. It really reminded me, like, this is set 10 years before I was even born, but there's a real nostalgic feel in it that really reminded me of like me spending time with my grandparents when I was younger. My granddad was a social secretary for a working men's club. When I was growing up, and we used to spend a lot of time down there. We'd go to the quiz, like my sister and I would just run around being annoying, hiding under the snooker table, and there's sort of scenes set where they're at I think they call it the Old Legion, which I imagine is a similar club. These are places that are probably, if I was to go into the Queenborough Club, which is the one my granddad was the social secretary for, I bet it would look exactly the same, because these are places that don't change. But yeah, I really enjoyed the sort of the unfolding of the storyline. The storyline was a wonderful storyline, as well as the wonderful characters that I loved. And I loved the fact that it would sort of hark back to an event that had happened in the winter before, excuse me, a few winters before this setting, and revisiting the characters as younger people. I really loved this. I would really encourage people to read it. I feel like it was a lovely read. I feel like it would appeal to all sort of standards of reading, standards of readers. So like people who love a story, yeah, you'd like it. People who love characters, yeah, you'd like it. People who love sort of atmosphere, yeah, you'd like it. I just feel like there's so much going in here. I really loved it. I've got a really tickly throat, but yeah, I gave this 5 stars. Absolutely adored it, encouraging people to read it. Please. The next book I read is a book that I got out from the library. I've mentioned it before on this channel. I mentioned it in a currently reading video. It took me a few months to get through it, but however, I did really enjoy it. It's called Everything We Touch, a 24-hour inventory of our lives by Paula Zuccotti. This is a great coffee table book, and I feel like if you're looking for a good book to buy for Christmas for somebody, I feel like this is a really great book to sort of pick and come back to. As I mentioned, in my currently reading, I really enjoyed it, and I sort of used it as a bit of a game, but I'll show you inside. So each double spread, they have a whole entire page of things that some person has touched in a 24-hour period. So for instance, you can see up here, like that's breakfast time, so coffee machine, toothbrush, etc. Hair dryer, then it goes on to clothes, food throughout the day, and then like before you go to bed. So I mean, it's really interesting as it is, but I was sort of treating it as a bit of a game. So I would look at this, for instance, and I would see that this is, I probably think, now, there's no bra here, so that would make me think that this was a man. I can look and see that the font on packaging is Arabic. So yeah, I'd probably guess somewhere in the over there. So I'm going to guess, oh actually, so this here you can see on this apron it says Marrakesh, so I'm going to guess that that's Marrakesh. I think it's a chef in Marrakesh, a male, and I would probably guess around 30. It's a woman, I've ruined it. So there, and then the next page shows you who it is, their age, where they're living, etc., and a more in-depth discovery about what's there. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I as I said, I sort of worked through it as a bit of a project, like working out who had what and things like that. But yeah, really enjoyed it. I think it's a great coffee table book, great gift. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. Very enjoyable. The next book is also a book that I'd been reading for a while. That was Girl Trouble, Panic and Progress in the History of Young Women by Carol Dyehouse. I love this front cover, look at it, it's amazing. This spans the history of women in the UK. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't like quite as academic as I thought it was going to be, so I was really pleased with that, because sometimes if I'm reading academic text, I'm a bit like, bloody hell, this is what university was like, blah. But it really refers to things that have happened in the past, and like sort of puts them against things that were happening in so like it would compare things that are happening in history with things that had happened, like films that have been released at that time and how things have been reflected and things like that. I really enjoyed it. It goes all the way up to the 1990s, and yeah, I just really enjoyed this. I gave it 3 stars. And then the last book I read was a complete, like, I'm really surprised by how much I enjoyed it. I really loved it. It was Fell by Jen Ashworth. Love this cover as well. A month of good front covers. So yeah, I went to this sort of not knowing much. I knew that Simon was a big fan of Jen Ashworth. And this tells the story of Annette Clifford, who has returned to her childhood home with sort of designs to sell it quite quickly. And then whilst that's happening, you're hearing from her parents who have died but who are in the house still, as sort of like, I don't want to use ghosts because I feel like that cheapens it. It's much more like a spiritual thing. And they're sort of like looking at Annette, trying to get things sorted and things like that, and then remembering things that happened in their past, and how they met. And Annette's mother, Nettie, was very unwell for the last few years of her life, and they had a sort of stranger who moved in with them who potentially had healing powers, and I feel like you never really get to the bottom of whether or not he did have healing powers. There's sort of quite a lot of speculation and stories and things like that. And there's just so many layers to it, and so much going on in like the current day with Annette, and then with Nettie, and I've forgotten her dad's name. That's annoying. Jack. When Nettie and Jack met. And then their life as they're growing up in the house, and they take a lot of lodgers in and things like that. Loads of characters, loads of atmosphere and fun, and yeah, really love this. Looking forward to reading some more Jen Ashworth. So yeah, those are the 6 books that I read in the second half of September. Have you guys read any of those books? Have you guys enjoyed any of those books? I hope you all had a lovely read in September. As you can see, I've started the October book corner. A couple of pumpkins here from David's dad's allotment, very good. And look at this lovely mug. Books in My Bag sent me this mug, look at it, so excited. It just feels very like 70s and autumnal. And I've moved me autumnal books here as well. all colours. So yeah, blah, 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 blah. Those are the books that I read in the month of September. I hope you all had a wonderful September. Let me know what you read. Let me know how things are. And I will see you all again on Sunday for my favourites video. Goodbye. Oh, hi. Also forgot that I actually listened to the audiobook of about a boy, How Not to Beat a Boy by Robert Webb. I've just this second finished it as I was putting on a bit of lipstick, and really, really enjoyed it. So Robert Webb is an actor from the UK who is in his, I'd say probably like early 40s. He is a comedian and actor, and this is an account of how his childhood and being brought up, and gender from his perspective, and what it's like to be told to be a man and to not cry and to not let people see you crying, and things like that. Again, a real sort of nostalgia fest of growing up and hearing the things that he was saying that members of his family have said, ringing quite true with some things that members of my family and people that I've known growing up have also said. So yeah, and overall, sort of like, there's lots of highs and lows in it. So his mum dies when he's quite young, which is really, really sad. But there's also like hilarious bits about him and his imaginary friends, and really, really enjoyable and truthful and honest tale of somebody's sort of life. I guess it was a memoir, but it felt so much more than a memoir, because it was really related to a lot to do with gender, which obviously I really, really like. So yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I gave that 5 stars too. So you can definitely go now. That's it from me, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.